Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio, where we break down the best hair metal albums from the 80s and the 90s. So grab that volume up, crank it up, and enjoy the show.
Showtime. Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First up, the podcaster, holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
It's always Halloween in my soul.
Nice. And last but not least, the podcaster who likes the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
As always, the mission of this show is for us to introduce each other and you, the listeners, to albums and bands which you may never have heard before, while also discussing the classics. So sit back and enjoy the show. So I'm going to go to the mailbag today. We actually got a little mail. Longtime listener Alex Osler wrote into the show to tell us that he appreciates what we do and he likes the show. So Alex, we are glad that you enjoy the show and we appreciate you and we appreciate all of our listeners. Without you, the show would not be worth doing. I always encourage you guys, if you're interested, drop us a line, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. And, if you want to, suggest an album and it's something that we feel like we want to do, we'll do it. And if you want to write in a little something about the album you chose, where you were when you heard it, how it makes you feel, memory, whatever, we'll read that on the air. But I mean, if you come up with something like, I don't know, it's fucking Europe or something, we're not doing it. Okay?
Blasphemy.
Oh, maybe we will do it. Okay, Europe's a go.
No Barry Manilow.
No winger.
No
winger.
winger.
Okay. Speaking of the mailbag, Dave, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find the show?
All right. Please like and subscribe and make sure you give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts if you can. Instagram, we are at VVR Podcast Insta, INSTA, like Instagram. On Twitter /X, we are at VVR Podcast, like Violent Vinyl Radio, VVR Podcast. And on Facebook, it's just Violent Vinyl Podcast.
I like it. I took a knee to the soft part of the side of my head tonight sparring. I might be getting too old for this. I've been losing consciousness consistently.
Aren't you wearing headgear and stuff?
No,
like
I mean, it's like an MMA gym, and I'm sparring with these guys that are like all excited, and yeah, I've been taking a bit of a beating lately, but whatever, it's all fun. So might be a little loopy tonight. Tonight, we will be discussing Trash, the 11th studio album by Alice Cooper, produced by the great Desmond Child. And you can hear it, because it's a fucking good album. All right, little tip of the hat. Good album. Released on July 25th of 1989 on Epic Records. The album peaked at the number 20 spot on the U.S. Billboard 200. I am going to run through this band lineup for the album. It is going to be quite a laundry list, so just sit back and here we go. Alice Cooper, vocals. John McCurry, guitars. Hugh McDonald, bass. Bobby Chenard, and this is from Billy Squier. He played drums. Alan St. John, keyboards, also from the Billy Squier Band. Additional personnel on the album, we had Steven Tyler, vocals on track 5. John Bon Jovi, vocals on track 8. I kind of like the way Bon Jovi sang with Alice a little better. Both did a nice job. Kip Winger, I mean, the guy's a pro. I mean, he's a pro. He's a great musician, great singer, but that fucking song, man, come on. Kind of gave him a black eye. Vocals, track 10. The great Joe Perry, guitar, track 3. The great Richie Sambora, both a wonderful singer and guitar player. Guitar, track 9. Steve Lukather, guitar, track 9. The great muscular Kane Roberts, guitar, track 6. And I'll tell you what, my man can lift weights and rip on guitar. Guy Mandude, guitar, track 2, 4, and 7. The mighty Tom Hamilton playing bass on track 8 and kicking ass. Joey Kramer also playing on track 8 with the drums. Mark Frazier playing guitar on track 8. Jack Johnson playing guitar on track 8. Everybody got it on track 8. They were running the train on track 8. Paul Chitton playing keyboards. Steve Dudish synth programming. And finally, Greg Magifico keyboards and special effects. Sorry for the butchering of the last two names. So there you go. There's your lineup for this album.
There will be a quiz later.
My computer went into like sleep mode while you were reading
Oh
that.
shit. Okay. Let's do some quick band facts. I will leave it up to you guys. Dave, please go first.
All right. Poison was Alice Cooper's first top 10 hit since his single You and Me in 1977. Originally, Alice Cooper was the name of his band, which released 7 albums from 1969 to 1973. Along the way, Vincent Furnier adopted the stage name and in 1975 returned as a solo artist with the release of Welcome to My Nightmare, which we broke down on an old episode of Breaking Vinyl.
Yes, we did.
His drinking habits were legendary. In 1977, Cooper had himself hospitalized in a sanitarium for treatment and quit drinking.
Nice.
Unfortunately, through the early 80s, he went back to drinking as well as picking up a cocaine habit.
Nice.
In 1983, that was Blackout Alice with, he looked pretty rough. He was, he had to do something, otherwise he wasn't going to be with us anymore. So in 1983, he got sober for good and has remained so since.
Good for him. Good for him. Not an easy thing to do when you're a rock star with millions of dollars, right?
That's right.
Well, look at a little fun fact. I'm working on a song right now, collaborating with the old guitar player of Fighting Cocks, one Charlie Ledger, Boston legend. And the singer of the Fighting Cocks, Jamie, actually had a hand in writing Trash off this album. So there you go.
Sweet.
Fun fact. Yes. Continue.
Musicians who performed on the album include guitarist John McCurry, who had previously worked with David Bowie and Julian Lennon and later Katy Perry. As we mentioned, Hugh McDonald of Bon Jovi, which he was the bass player all along and not the guy you saw in the videos.
Not to be confused with Norm MacDonald from Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Fuck.
And Bobby Chenard and Alan St. John from Billy Squire's solo band on drums and keyboards.
Nice.
So I read an article on ultimateclassicrock.com called Alice Cooper Goes Mainstream with Trash. And from that article, it says, even if at 41 he seemed like an unlikely idol for the MTV generation, he was already making plans for future decades of musical domination. When I get too old to do this, 55 years old or so, I'm going to create a new Alice, Cooper mused. I want Alice to go on like the circus for generations. Maybe there'll be 10 Alices.
Nice.
He hasn't given up the crown yet.
No.
And it's been about 40 years later. So
I also like how he refers to himself in the third person as Alice.
oh yeah,
So,
well, yeah, he always does
It's a
that. I mean,
persona.
yeah, he does
Right,
that to
it's-
separate it from like who he really is.
right.
Yeah.
And finally, the recording of Trash took place across several recording studios, including Bearsville Studios in Woodstock, New York. The sessions ran in May and June of 1989.
Nice. Nice. Lisa, what do you got on this?
This was one of the hardest band facts to put together because he has the biggest history you could ever imagine. And trying to cherry pick some things about this album out of everything that he's done was really horrifying for me. He always wanted to be a musician. Could you imagine Alice Cooper doing anything else but being a performer?
No.
From what I understand, he's a good golfer. Could have maybe gone
Yes.
PGA.
And he mentioned that he used to play golf with Bon Jovi and some of the other guys. So yeah, that's doesn't fit with the persona for me. But yeah, that's his thing.
Yeah, big golf guy.
Yeah, yeah. In the early 80s, I want to say the very late 70s and the early 80s, he had kind of a downturn in his career, and he was sort of looking, for a sound, a hit, a proper band, whatever you want to call it. He had some kind of duds, right, in that time frame, until he decided to work with Desmond Child. Um, he used his contacts that he had known for years, right? Lita Ford, David Lee Roth, Steve Vai, who we'll talk about later, to put together this band. He kind of went to these people and said, "Hey, who do you recommend? Who do you recommend?" He was like a master of surrounding himself with great musicians throughout his whole career.
Yeah, still is.
It
Yep.
still is, yeah. And not only that, he used a lot of hired guns and kind of made some people who were unknown into really powerhouse musicians. Like, well, you can name hundreds of them, but one of my favorites is Nita Strauss on guitar.
Sure.
She's still to this day plays
Currently
with him.
in the
Yeah,
band. Yep.
yeah, and I love her. But he gave a lot of people kind of a leg up in this industry. And the nice thing about it was, unlike, say, for example, David Coverdale, who did bring in great musicians, Alice Cooper didn't have that ego where he needed to always be the focus.
How dare you?
I feel like he may have naturally been the focus just because he's Alice and everybody loves him, but
Sure.
he definitely gave everybody else a piece of the stage and a piece of the fame, which I think was really cool.
Nice.
Trash was included in Rolling Stone's list of the 50 greatest hair metal albums of all time, which is interesting because Alice wasn't originally a hair metal, certainly not. He was shock rock, generic rock, classic rock. I don't know what to call it. He only kind of made this detour for a couple of albums, really, to be considered hair metal.
Did what he had to do at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of bands
Yeah.
tried to do this, but we'll get to it next week.
Yeah, and
Unsuccessfully.
yeah, but I think he did it. I think he did it well too.
Yes, he did. Yes,
yeah,
he did.
Yeah. You could say that this album was his step into mainstream and radio play, although he had many mega hits before this. But I don't really feel like he was, somebody you'd hear playing in the grocery store or something like that. Like, he was a scary guy.
Household name.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, and he basically the Satanic Panic of the 80s, of course. He was like a big name in that, when people didn't want their kids to listen to music like him because it was too scary and the show was too gory and, all of this stuff. And this album kind of brought him into the mainstream. But people were still talking about the controversy of his shows and his music and his lyrics and things like that. Epic Records financed this album, which meant that there was a massive amount of money around it. Now, of course, he'd been around a long time, right? He had the backing, which is not what we saw in a lot of albums of that time. A lot of albums were first albums for hungry bands that, their parents were paying for and things like that. This was an album where he got the best of everything: equipment, high profile guests, locations, artwork for the album. This was completed in about 2 months. And cost a lot of money, but he was meticulous about the production. And you'd have to think, okay, was he, angry about it? Was he hard to work with? Is that how he was able to get it done so quickly? And the word on the street is that no, they just pushed so much money and so much great equipment, and they were so organized with the whole situation that everybody just worked together seamlessly, and everybody had like a really good experience making this album. So
he seems like the kind of guy that would be like really easy to work with.
yeah.
He doesn't seem dangerous to me. I'm really surprised that whole like parents got excited. Like,
Yeah.
he seems like Mr. Rogers of like
Yes.
shock rock.
Yes, exactly. He's known to be an amenable person to work with. I think one of the things that makes him so great is that he's able to collaborate with so many different types of musicians in such an easy way, and takes their talents and kind of weaves it into, doesn't like, there's no ego there, right? I just think must be a great person to work with.
He's
Yeah.
not going to lock you up in a box and do it this way.
Yeah. The album has a lot of themes that the 80s, rock albums were famous for, sex and passion and danger and pain.
But let me interject. But
Mm.
he did it where you could still feel that classic Alice
Oh, yeah.
Cooper just simmering under the surface.
Mhm.
Still
Yeah.
felt like Alice Cooper.
And even though like he brought in a songwriter like Desmond Child, of course, but his work was still there. It was definitely a collaboration. He's still like kind of the master of this, and you can totally feel it. He claims his influences for this album, and this is kind of a strange list. Now you can hear Bon Jovi and Aerosmith, obviously, especially because they collaborated on the album. But he also names Motley Crue, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, and Rob Zombie. And I would have thought, Alice Cooper was Rob Zombie's influence, not the other way around. But
Right.
those are the people that he's naming.
Cool.
The tour for this album was with Brittany Fox and a band I
Oof.
don't like to speak about, Great White. I saw
Oof.
this twice.
Double
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah, the band we don't listen to anymore. I saw him on this tour twice. I also saw him on the previous tour, which was with Ozzy, ironically. And I understand on the Ozzy tour, they switched off who was headlining each night, because how do you pick a headliner between those two guys, right? When I saw them, Ozzy was the headliner. Alice played first. And that was at, I think, the Worcester Centrum, which I still call it the Worcester Centrum.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I raced my motorcycle there.
Yeah. Other albums that were on the radio at the same time, Dr. Feelgood, The Real Thing, Faith No More, Beneath the Remains, Sepultura, Altars of Madness, Morbid Angel, Pretty Hate Machine was the same year, Skid Row's self-titled album. But on the radio at that time was a much different mix, right? We were hearing Paula Abdul, Janet Jackson, Poison, Bette Midler, Milli Vanilli, Chicago, songs like that. New Kids on the Block, Debbie Gibson. So it was a mishmash of ridiculous pop music and things like that. There wasn't a lot like Alice anywhere.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into the individuals in the band, really the core band. A few things with Alice Cooper. He was on The Muppet Show. 1978.
Yeah, dangerous, real scary.
Yep, and I feel
saw
like
it.
feel like that like signifies his persona for me. Yeah, he's the creepy guy and he had a creepy role in it, but oh my god, he's the perfect, like, he should have his own kids morning show or something
Definitely.
like that, He was a piano playing disco waiter in Mae West's final film Sextet.
Awesome.
He led a lot of celebrities in raising money to remodel the famous Hollywood sign and personally paid for the O for $27,000.
Wow.
Yep. Let's see. He's sober now. He was going to divorce his wife, Cheryl Cooper. They made it all the way to court and decided not to divorce, and actually are still together as far as I know to
Good
this
choice.
day.
They
They perform together as well. She's been on his stage shows.
Yeah, she was a dancer on
Yeah.
stage for many years.
Yeah.
I don't know if she still is in the show, but I know now his daughter
His
is
daughter
in the show.
is. Yeah, one of his daughters. Yeah. So she was a professional ballerina before they married, and they do have 3 daughters together. So
Nice.
Cooper nearly died of asphyxiation during a show in 1988, which would have been the tour before this, when a safety rope broke during a rehearsal when he was pretending to hang himself in a stunt. So found that interesting.
Fun fact,
and-
that also happened to Brandon Fraser in the filming of The Mummy, where he
Mhm.
was also badly injured from a
Yeah.
hanging gone wrong. Don't hang
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. He did have troubles in Europe during that time period, similar to what we talked about with Type O Negative, where his show had to be adjusted for especially audiences in Germany. They actually took a lot of the gore out of the performance and things like that. It was very controversial at the time to have violence in a stage show. Sex, nudity, they didn't care. But violence and blood was a no-no in Europe at that time.
So campy, though, the way
Yeah.
he did it. Come on.
It totally was, yeah. My most important fact was his 1992 appearance in Wayne's World, which was, of course, my opening greeting to everyone,
Yes.
where they go to a concert that he's performing in Milwaukee, and they are shocked at his intelligent answer of the explanation of the origination of the name Milwaukee.
So good. So
Yeah,
good.
We'll never forget that. And of course, they fall to their knees and
We're
we're not worthy, which is what all of us would say if we were in front of him.
Yes.
So let's move on to one interesting about his wife. In 2019, Cooper said that his wife and him have a death pact. where if one dies, the other will follow. But
Yikes.
yeah, people thought that was very morbid. So he actually clarified his comments later, and he said, "We actually have a life pack because we're always together, home, on the road, on stage. And if something happened to us, we probably would be together then, and it would happen to both of us. So we have a life pact," is what he said. Yeah.
Interesting.
So. John McMurray, you named a few people that he worked with. I'm just going to name a few more. Cyndi Lauper, Billy Joel, David Bowie, Belinda Carlisle, Joss Stone, the Jonas Brothers, among many, many others. Very prolific guitarist. He's credited as composer on 119 albums.
Wow.
Pop, rock, classical, and everything in between. Guitar on 67 albums. I could go on. He's got an incredible list of music that he's written, arranged, been the lyricist, even done vocals. He also plays the sitar, banjo, and the accordion.
Wow. Talented man.
Yeah. Hugh McDonald, you mentioned quickly, the original bass player for Bon Jovi, not really, but was he kind of? And the controversy.
Basically.
Yeah.
The studio bass player for Bon Jovi.
Definitely the studio bass player. He was 1995's Metal Edge Reader's Choice Award for the best bassist, tying with White Zombie's bassist Sean. I'm going to butcher her last name. Ezel. Okay, thank you.
As far as I know.
Yep. There was an interesting thing he said. I read an interview he did with Dan Clark on danclark.com, where he talks about being a session musician. And he says, well, when you're on stage, it really doesn't matter. You hit a bad note, you hide behind the other people. It's live. Everyone's having fun. It's no big deal. But when you're a session musician and you are in the studio and there's money on the line and people are paying for that time, it's got to be perfect. It isn't over until you've done it perfectly well. So it's a completely different level of musicianship to do that kind of work.
Yeah. So, pressure.
Yeah. He was also asked what's the difference between a top 40 song and a number one song, which I thought his answer was interesting. He says it's when you have the big bucks. It's just advertising, promotion, radio play and all of that. He's like, there's been hundreds of top 40 songs that were incredible that didn't have money behind them. And that makes me sad because I always feel like, at least when I was a kid, if it's a number one song, it should be the best, right? Not always the case.
Always the case.
Yeah. He's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as Bon Jovi. I think we all know that. Has worked with tons of people: Lita Ford, Michael Bolton, Cher, Ricky Martin, Michael Bublé, so forth and so on. The drummer, Bobby Chouinard.
Bobby Chouinard.
Chouinard.
Yeah.
Got it. Billy Squier.
Local boy, right? New York, right?
Brockton, Massachusetts. He was born. Yeah. There isn't a lot on him. He actually passed when he was 44 in 1997 of a massive heart attack. His nephew wrote a book about him. And the book is just basically full of quotes of other people talking about working with him. It's full of typos, so it's like kind of hard to read. And it has tons of photos of him, but not a single photo has a caption on it to tell you who's in the photo with him. So interesting book.
Question, Dave, isn't Pink, didn't the album he's working on right now, isn't he playing with Bobby Chouinard's like one of his nephews or something?
His nephew, yeah.
Okay,
Roger.
yeah.
Roger, that's the one who wrote the book.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
So there you go.
He's playing drums on Pink's new recording.
You need an editor for your book, Roger.
Well, there you go. Shout out to Pink. Shout out to the drummer.
Yeah.
I still haven't heard any tracks off that. Pink is like holding it back. I'm like, come on, dude, send me some shit. I want to hear it.
And finally, Alan St. John, which is the guy who actually makes me the most excited. Background working with John Entwistle Band, Iggy Pop, Twisted Sister. But most important to me, he plays with a band called the Sixth Chamber, which is a goth band. They call themselves an acid rock goth band, which I think is a strange title for them. It's theatrical, it's interesting, it's keyboards, lots of synth and all of this. I love it so much. They have, lots of music out. The band has actually been around for decades, but he joined in, I believe it was 2019. So exciting to see his work on here. He wasn't able to tour with Alice Cooper because it conflicted with a tour of the Billy Squier band. He was, he could have chosen either one. And kept his loyalty to Billy Squier, of course, since he'd been with him for so long. Was that the right choice? Not really sure. Billy Squier ended his touring career 3 years later, and Alice Cooper today is still touring. So maybe not so much the greatest choice.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I don't think any of the guys who played on this album were in the touring band on this tour, because he definitely got 2 other guitar players, and I think it was like all different guys that were the band.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you see the Alice Cooper Trashes the World, which is the video from this tour.
Yeah. One more interesting fact about him, he spoke about his experience recording this album at Power Station in New York, and then later in a studio in Woodstock, that they did lots of in-person rehearsals all together as a band, which is important when you're going to record an album. But they did a lot of their studio work separately, basically alone in the studio, which I think is harder to play that way. But they recorded it on 2-inch tape. And, this was in the late 80s, so I don't know how common that was. But he was talking about how difficult the editorial process was, and watching the editors cut the tape at exactly the right, point to splice it somewhere else, and how amazing that whole process was.
Before digital,
we don't do that anymore today. So
well, that's become a lost art. There's a very few old timers that still can cut tape.
Dave Grohl, right? Dave has the old deck that all the big stars recorded on. Am I right?
I'm sure he does have.
I'm pretty sure he bought I'm pretty sure he bought the one that was in that big studio in L.A. that everybody recorded in the 70s and 80s, and he still records music on it to this day. And that 2-inch analog, in my opinion, I mean, harder to work with, but a sound you cannot capture on digital, in my opinion.
Sounds the best.
Yes.
Yeah, and the current lineup, of course, he is still touring today. Current lineup includes Nita Strauss on guitars, my favorite. And
Roxy.
Yeah, and Ryan Roxy on guitars as well and backing vocals. And they also bring in people to play with them randomly, especially if someone can't show for a gig. So it's always interesting to see who's playing behind Alice. So
nice. If you guys would like to hear Pink's album, he demoed up a bunch of it here in my studio, and I will sell it to you. I'll sell it to you for a very cheap price. We'll do a bootleg album, and I'll sell it to Pink.
$29.95.
$29.95. Hear Pink's album with the drum machine first. Okay, I'm joking. I joke, but seriously, I have it. Okay. Okay. So, anything else, Lise?
Nope, that'll do it.
Okay. Awesome. Let's do some open. I was just saying the other day how this like a real music show now. Before it was like all pee-pee jokes. Okay, let's do some opening thoughts. So I generally like my Alice Cooper set in the 1970s, but this was a big album at the time, and I loved it when it came out. Okay, I saw the tour. And I'm going to tell you what really hooked me on this album was that Poison video. Dude, they put together the coolest looking fucking band. That guy playing that Mockingbird with the straight hair, and they had everything shadow lit. And, Alice Cooper did not do the Sin that we're going to see next week, like on Tears Are Falling by Kiss. Okay. I'm just going to use that as the example since you guys fucking text me the picture screenshot. Okay. Like
different album, but sure.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, my point is like when you get a classic artist like Kiss or like Alice that really were leaning hard on their visuals, and then you try and put like an 80s hair metal twist on it, it can go wrong really fast. This did not go wrong. This went right. Alice stuck to his roots. He looked like Alice Cooper. His outfits were great. And then he surrounded himself with this really sleazy, cool looking band. These guys were really great looking. I loved this lineup and I loved this video. Dave, have you ever heard it before preparing for the podcast?
Well, I did not have this one back in the 80s, but I had heard the hits. Poison, which was all over the radio and MTV, and Trash. I did get the album later and had listened to it. Pretty solid 80s metal was my impression. So we'll see if it holds up upon examination.
Let's do that. And Lisa, how'd you listen to the album before preparing for the podcast?
Yeah, and had seen him several times live.
How many times?
Oh, not that many, not that many. I think I saw him maybe 3 times before this album. And to me, he was very much 18 and School's Out and the big hits. And I'll be honest with you, even back in the day, even though that I had seen him, didn't know a lot of the deeper cuts on any of his older albums. It was the big hits for me and nothing else. And the creep factor and the theatrical stage shows and the shock rock and the gore and the kind of horror movie connections, right? That's what was in my head for him. So when this album came out, it was a little bit of a shock for me. I was like, Alice Cooper as glam metal? Oh my God. And it was fantastic. He looked great. He was an older guy back then. He was already in his 40s. And for me, my comments on Dave Coverdale and some of the other guys, it wasn't my thing when I was a young girl, right? I didn't want to look at an old 40-year-old man, but him, fantastic. Didn't care his age. His clothes were great. His makeup was great. His presence was great. Like I wanted to see more, I can't say that I remember even the deep cuts on this album, but for sure I was listening to all the hits. And I think, but my biggest attachment to him, of course, was the stage show, which really was, a lot of bands will say, was how they, like I'll talk about, if we have to say Marilyn Manson, but the bands that have the big theatrical stage shows in the late 80s all credit him, as being their mentors. And for me, that was really important. And I know later in the show, I think we're going to talk about King Diamond, which is what, in that same genre. We did see him recently. So, yeah.
Strangely, Alice Cooper always looked old. Even like in the old videos, like 18,
Yeah.
I'm like, he looks like he's like 47 in that video. He's playing
Yeah.
like 20. Just
But it
one of those
didn't-
dudes.
It didn't matter though, not in the same way the other guys did. He still was cool and creepy and yeah.
Yeah, well, he's kind of timeless.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Vincent
Yeah,
Price.
that-
Yeah.
I saw the tour with Kane Roberts, the one he did with Kane Roberts. So maybe it wasn't this album because you know what? It was in a smaller arena, more like an Orpheum size. It wasn't.
Well, I
in
saw him
Boston.
at the Orpheum, and it
Oh,
was
it was
with Kane. Yeah,
Probably the one
yeah,
before
Okay.
this.
and that was the year before. So that was
Okay.
88. That
Razor
was
That's
Fist
the
88.
one I
Yell.
saw.
Yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
one I saw too, though. Where they cut the
Mhm.
giant's head off and
Yes,
stuff. Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
mhm.
Okay, that's the one I saw. All right. Well, there you go. So let's rate the singer. As always, it is 1 through 100, 25 on hair, 25 on style, and stage and presence count for 50%. I don't know. I fucked all that up, but you get it. Okay. Should I break that down again, or do people know? Do people know?
25 on hair, 25 on style, and 50 on vocal talent.
True that. Okay, here we go. So is Alice Cooper old and slightly frail? Yes. Is he a great singer? Not really. But this is Alice fucking Cooper, the king of stage horror, and his lyrics are legit. So for me, he gets a score of 81.666. This guy is a fucking great front. Yes. See what I did there? Great front man. Great front man. Dave.
Well, we got a 22 on hair. Alice has always had pretty good hair, except in that crackhead phase in the early 80s. A full 25 on style and stage presence. He is one of the best.
Yes.
And finally, 39 on vocal talent. He knows his voice and usually doesn't try to do things that he can't do. Pretty identifiable sound. And come on, it's fucking Alice Cooper, king of shock rock. 86 total score.
Nice. Yeah, there you go. He did try to battle with Steven Tyler a little bit on this album, maybe not super successful.
Mm.
I don't know if I want to get into a contest with Steve Tyler. Lisa.
There's almost nobody that can command a stage like Alice Cooper. I mean, it doesn't matter how many famous musicians that you put behind him, how many talented people, what kind of a, theatrical stage set there is behind him, or what kind of action or dancers or gore, you're still looking at Alice. And that's, that's something that not a lot of people have. I loved his hair. It was, gothy black, metal hair, and it always looked great. I don't even know if later in his life, if it was a wig, it didn't matter. It always looked fantastic. And I think because he had such great costumers that it wouldn't matter if it was a wig or not, because it was
Yeah.
just great. Speaking of his costumers, he always had great clothes. There was always something cool that he was wearing that had an impact. And I say costumers, I don't mean that he's dressing up in the way that like Whitesnake was back in the day. It was very natural for him, but he definitely had, the best outfits and costumes. And sometimes he was wearing a straitjacket, and even then it was like cool. It didn't matter. It was just
Yeah.
it was amazing. And he was creepy and all of that. Okay, let's step into the voice. Yeah, he doesn't have the best, high note glam rock voice, but he didn't need it, right? He has a rock and roll voice that everybody knows. You mentioned the Steven Tyler battle. So he actually talks about recording with Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler obviously can hit any high note that you want him to hit and has a very distinctive voice. He talks about spending 8 hours in the studio with Steven Tyler recording the song, singing higher than he ever had sung before, trying to keep up with Steven Tyler. And it took such a toll on him that he had to rest for several days after that.
I believe it.
Yeah, but I think something that he does with his voice too is he does surround himself with great backup singers, other people that boost his voice and sing with him, which is what King Diamond did on the latest tour, which we'll talk about later. And it gave him, an edge that a lot of other people. Who has Steven Tyler to sing with you on your album, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Total score 82.8.
Nice. Yeah, the only thing about Alice Cooper for me was I always wish he was just a little meaner. Like I wish there was some like news of him like, like Ozzy, like eating a rat's head or something and like, abusing, I don't know, just being crazy. Like I wanted more of that. Very nice.
There is a dead animal story in his history too. It was an accident. I'm not going to tell that one, but yeah, if you go look that up, there was a on stage animal accident. So
oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't a puppy.
No.
Okay, at least will you please?
It was a chicken.
Oh, okay. Well,
It
I
was,
eat
it
chicken.
was a chicken. Yeah.
I eat chicken, so there you go.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is I will only eat it if I could kill it, and I could definitely choke a little chicken if I had to. No pork, no cows. I couldn't kill a pig or a cow, but chicken, I'll choke that little chicken.
Yeah.
Lisa, talk about it. What do we got?
Okay, so I can't believe what I'm about to tell you right now. On the Violent Vinyl Frontman Leaderboard, Alice Cooper gets a total score of 83.49, so just ever so slightly edging Peter Steele out of the number one position.
Huh. Well, I think Peter
Number
Steele would be
one.
okay with that. I think Peter Steele would be
Maybe.
fine being
Yeah.
bounced out of first by Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, but here we are.
I still would take Tame Me Down over either of those guys. Okay. All right.
He's number 3.
Number 3. There you go. Let's get into the tracks and we will break this album down now. Track number 1, Poison. First of all, like I alluded to in the beginning of the show, the video is killer. This is how you introduce a new Alice Cooper to the world, spin on Alice Cooper. Amazing. So the production on the entire album, it's fucking killer. I mean, yeah, you're going to get these different musicians. Some of them are going to bring some, I'm talking about guitar players mostly. They're going to bring some sounds that, they sound a little dated, but overall the production of this album is fucking slick as fuck. I love the guitars on this song, especially this intro. It is so good. This is how you write a hit single. The arrangement is perfect. Now, let's get into the vocals. Great words, amazing production, and flawless backing vocals that are elevating Alice Cooper into a hair metal glam vocalist. Like I literally can't even believe what I'm listening to. They pulled it off. And it was not going to be an easy task to bring Alice Cooper from the 70s into this genre successfully and pull off an album like they pulled off. It's really impressive. Amazing song. My only little teeny knock would be the lead guitar during the fade out is so squeaky. It's like the squeakiest little guitar sound I ever heard, but that's nitpicking. 100-watt song. Loved it. Dave.
Well, really unusual, catchy, and interesting guitar lick on this one. It was the first single released from the album. Alice wrote this with Desmond Child and his new guitar player for this album, John McCurry. There is some synth. Everything sounds great. Big guitars, big background vocals, big drums, even though they are pretty 80s sounding. Good guitar work, not just average blues licks here. Speaking of this lick, guitarist John McCurry wrote the cool riff. However, I don't know if you guys found this. It is a recycled riff.
No.
I found out that it was used previously on a song that John had co-written called Encircled by John Waite in 1987.
Was it released?
Oh, yeah. It was on the record. You can look it up on YouTube and it's right there.
What's it called again? Because I'm going to look at it.
It's called Encircled.
Encircled. Okay.
By John Waite, Waite, the I Ain't Missing You guy.
Yes. Tried to go metal for a minute. Didn't work.
Yeah. The other co-writers of the song were John Waite and Ace Frehley band bassist John Regan.
Oh, cool.
So I guess he played on that album too. So yeah, check it out.
There you go. Lisa, what do you think of this opening track, Poison?
The song was definitely not as good as Poison by Alice Cooper.
No, few songs are. This is a great song.
That's why he was like, this is too good to waste. I'm going to reuse it.
John Waite song with that gap in his front teeth. John Waite. Okay. Lisa, talk about Poison.
I hadn't heard this album probably in 2 decades. Even though I was a pretty big fan back in the day. It's easy to understand why this was the hit on the album. It's a fantastic album opener. Totally get why it was his first top 10 single since the 70s. It's also apparently the biggest single he's ever had still to this day. I never saw him as gone before this album. Like he was always, even though he had a couple flop albums, there was never a point where I would have considered him, kind of his career dead in the water. But this was really his comeback song, I guess you could say. He originally wanted John Bon Jovi to sing on this track. He ended up on a different track, mainly because John was never allowed to sing such nasty songs in Bon Jovi. God. And Alice wanted to hear him singing the nasty lyrics. That didn't happen. So, yeah. My memories, of course, are like you guys, the video. The video was incredible. It was on MTV all the time. There's performance footage. There's red flags flying in the background, which have a little bit different meaning today than they did then. Yeah. A blonde girl in a corset. It had everything, an 80s video should have. He may have been a 70s rock star, but he was an 80s rock star in this video. So the band looked great. They were younger and flashy and just cool. But even next to them, Alice still looked, badass and was definitely the center of everything. The production on this, the first thing I noticed is so good. Of course, it's produced by Desmond Child, so that makes, perfect sense. The monster in the industry, Bon Jovi, Joan Jett, Aerosmith. His voice is spooky and recognizable. And, I believe the lyrics and there's emotion behind it. The lyrics are great. They're a little bit 80s cheesy, but in the best way possible. I want to hurt you just to hear you scream in my name.
So good. So
right?
good.
So good. The chorus is super memorable. I think it's something, and I think I'm going to say this about a couple of songs on here. I certainly remember it from back in the day, but it's a chorus you can sing along. Even if you're a first-time listener and have never heard this song before, you'll actually find yourself singing along to the chorus by the second time that it plays. There's the guitar solo is nice. There's another solo at the end, which you said was squeaky. I actually thought that was better than the main solo.
Des
Yeah.
said it was
Oh,
squeaky.
Des said it. Sorry, Des said it was
Yeah.
squeaky. Yeah, I
Squeaky.
like it.
Way,
Just
way
the
up high on
sound.
the fretboard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would have liked to hear more of the screaming guitars in this actually than there were. But yeah, this is another song as an '80s groupie that I wanted to have written about me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic song.
You were talking about the lyrics, and this is one of those albums. Like, if you're a fan of Alice Cooper, of course you have to be kind of snobby and be like, well, old Alice Cooper's better because it's old Alice Cooper. But I mean, honestly, this is really fucking good. And it doesn't sound like some corporate dick in a suit wrote these lyrics. Sounds like Alice Cooper wrote these lyrics with a good songwriter.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you listen to some of the other songs of these bands like Next Week, and it doesn't sound like the Kiss that wrote Cold Gin and fucking Strutter wrote these songs. It sounds so fucking corporate and just fake. And this album does not present itself like that. That's the charm of it. Number 2, Spark in the Dark. Speaking of great lyrics, this one has more of a classic Alice Cooper flavor for me. My favorite part of this track is the lyrics. I think the lyrics are fucking phenomenal. The spooky guitar riff is excellent. The drums, they're pleasant to listen to. And we haven't heard a lot of pleasant drums. There's been so many albums where I'm like, oh, these drums suck. They're perfect. They're right in the pocket. Not even noticing them. Just good. We get the little key change at the end, right? They use this a couple of times. I always hate this. It's great. It's great. It works everywhere. This is just a personal preference. I never like it. It always makes it lifts the mood of a song. It makes it happier. And I'm just not that guy. So for me, just leave it where it is. And again, and this is the ongoing theme of this album. It is dressed with the most amazing, buttery, beautiful backing vocals, and they accent and work perfectly with Alice Cooper. It works like it could have so easily not worked, having this kind of crusty, dark Alice Cooper voice laced in all this butter, but they did it right, and it tastes delicious to me. Dave.
Yeah, that's the Desmond Child special, is those
Yeah.
key changes. And you talk about the backup vocalists. I found a list of the people who were credited with backing vocals on this album. And you get a couple of the musicians like Alan St. John and Hugh McDonald and Desmond Child were credited. There's a bunch of other people, including Michael Anthony of Van Halen,
Oh, nice.
Stiv Bators from the Dead Boys, and a bunch of other people. So I don't know what they sang, and I couldn't really pick those guys out in any of the backup vocals, but apparently they were there.
Wow.
So-
I believe it because it's great.
So a gentleman named Guy Man Dude, great stage name, by the way, plays guest guitar on this track. If you don't know who he is, in 1989, in addition to this, he had a busy year. Also played on the Shocker soundtrack with the supergroup Dudes of Wrath,
Nice.
also including Paul Stanley of Kiss, Desmond Child, both on vocals, Vivian Campbell on guitar,
Nice.
Whitesnake's Rudy Sarzo on bass, and Motley Crue's Tommy Lee on drums.
Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah. This guy also released his first solo guitar shred album, Sleight of Hand, in the same year. If you were a guitar player in the late 80s, you definitely saw his full page ads in the guitar magazines. That being said, I can't tell which parts are him and what, if any, is done by the regular guy. Lead guitar is pretty effects heavy, pretty cool riff, decent song.
Fucking next week, our special guest is going to be like, fuck you by the end of the fucking show. Like, you brought me in here to tell me how fucking gay the album is I picked. Fuck you. Lisa, talk about it. Paul Stanley. Oh, shit.
Don't worry, I'll be sticking up for Kiss.
Okay. No, oh, hey, this isn't Kiss. That's the problem. Go ahead, Lisa.
I like the opening of this song. Very catchy, repeating guitar riff and chorus. The lyrics, though, but you don't write it in your diary, baby. Don't blab it on the phone, 'cause if your mom and dad found out, they'd skin me to the bone. How young is this girl that we're
She's
talking
only
about here?
17.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's character. He's writing a story.
So,
Shit,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so it's a hot song lyrically if we assume that the girl is at least of age. Is he a great singer? Not the best singer of all, but in this song, he carries the melody fantastic. He has like a grittiness to his voice in this song, almost like like a smoker's rasp to it, which I really liked. There's no high notes or anything like that amazing here, but it's just super cool how he sings it and how he delivers it. The one thing I really liked about this song, and I don't know if this has something to do with your guy man dude or whatever, is that even behind the verses in this song, there's little screams and like inserts of the guitar, like they're not solos, but it's like the verse is going on and there'll be like a woo or something,
Licks.
from the licks, like small ones, and they're sprinkled through the whole song. And I really love that. You don't often hear that in a lot of things. Usually the guitarist waits till the solo before showing off, but it was like this whole song had neat little guitar tricks through the whole thing.
So you're saying he was wanking over the entire song?
Maybe,
Nice.
but
Nice.
not in a bad way though, in a good way. I liked it. It like punctuated the lyrics and like fit in between. I did. It's a catchy song. I liked it.
Get a lot of that on Appetite for Destruction. I like it. I like when it's done properly.
Yeah.
Cool. Track number 3, House of Fire. So here we go. It's going to be 3 for 3 for me so far. This album's starting off very strong. I love this track. I always have. More great vocals that build dynamically along with this perfect arrangement. It's really good. There's so many great parts to this song, especially the bridge heading into the chorus, right? This is how you set it up, man. And again, I'd expect nothing less from an album produced by Desmond Child. This man knows how to fucking arrange a song, all right, at the very least. And you add on the fact that this guy knows how to write a chorus and how to set it up with a bridge, and you're cooking with fire here. We get a dirty little guitar track from Joe Perry, right? I mean, you can kind of feel the drop off here. 80s wise in the playing, like there's no shredding going on here. This is Joe Perry, right? Song is money. I fucking love it. Dave.
Yeah, this was the third single from the album. It was written by Alice with Desmond Child and Joan Jett.
Yes, Joan Jett.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I couldn't find anything about her input on the song, what she brought to the table, but we're all fans of Joan Jett, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Joe Perry is on guest guitar, like you mentioned. Sounds like him panned over into the right speaker. Sounds to me like he did the solo too.
Yes.
Nice guitar work.
It's okay.
Yeah, pretty good song. This one seems to me like it's trying hard to be an 80s rock hit. Mostly chorus and key changes. Does have good background vocals. And there is a fun fact on the 2-disc deluxe edition version of Bon Jovi's New Jersey album. There appears a demo version of this song recorded by Bon Jovi.
Nice.
Yep, I knew that. I always had that fact too.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I still like the Alice version better, but it is good.
It's a little different, but when you hear John and Richie singing it together, it's fucking money.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think? House of Fire?
My favorite part of this song is that it's not House of Fire, it's House of Fire.
Fire! So good.
I love that so much. And I think that is one of the things that is stuck in my head for the last several decades that I still remember. Fire. Love that. His voice is deeper on this song and a little more almost melodic, which, a little bit of even a whine behind it. And you know how much I love the whine in the voices. The lyrics are a story, which I really like, about getting the girl to be with him. It's a general kind of, generic topic, but he tells the story in his own way that's fantastic. And that kind of goes almost for this whole album, that these are old stories, but he tells them better, right?
Agreed.
There was a pre-chorus on this. You may be calling it the bridge, and I'm calling it
Yes.
the pre-chorus. So much cheese, and I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I think I used to drive my car really fast screaming this chorus and pre-chorus, and while I was driving.
They work so well together. They just so do.
Yeah. And this is another one where you only need, to hear the chorus the first time and you're already singing along with it. It's, very,
hooked.
very memorable. Yeah, great hook. I think if anyone else did this song, my note is that I would hate it, but I don't hate it when Bon Jovi did it. So now I kind of like want to hear other bands like cover this.
Everybody has to do it.
Everybody has to do it,
Everybody
so I
does
said,
House
yeah.
of Fire.
Yeah, House of Fire. There's a video for this song. Visually, it looks like the Poison video as far as like filters and colors and things like that. There's some performance in it. There's, for me, not enough fire in that, like, they're in a house that's supposed to be burning down, and there's a little bit of fire on a sign or something like that. I want the house to be in flames and them playing in it, but
They didn't have the budget for that.
they didn't have the budget for that. Yeah, it's still a pretty cool video, but I like the Poison video better.
Yeah, we could have brought in Paul Stanley from the Firehouse. Could have
Oh,
put
God.
that fire out.
Oh.
Okay. Track number 4. All right, Paul. Back off. Track number 4. Why Trust You? So, I was going to say, one of the charms of this album is that it has a lot of different flavors and sounds on it, right? This is not a hit song, but it rocks. The guitar solo rips, but I don't love the guitar sound. And I said that in the beginning, I mean, granted, we're looking back at an album that came out a million years ago. So, sounds and styles and stuff have changed. But in particular, I didn't love this guy's guitar sound, but great solo. The vocal in the bridge, dirty. I like it more than the chorus. So again, another great bridge. Unfortunately, it doesn't set up a smash chorus, but every song can't be House of Fire. The song's solid. It's a filler song, obviously, but it's not one that I would skip past if I was listening to the album. So it's fine. Dave.
Here's Guy Mandude again playing guest guitar.
Yeah.
I'm blaming the trashy guitar tone on him.
Okay.
Joe Perry had a great guitar tone in the last song.
Yep.
This song is kind of forgettable. I think it needed a better chorus. Too bad, because the verse lyrics were pretty fun and clever. First line is, "You come on strong with a great big smile, but your teeth are as sharp as a crocodile."
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
Very Kevin DeBro.
This one was written by Alice and Desmond Child. Not a fan of the echo ending either.
Mm. Yeah, we kind of heard it the same, right? It sounds like we kind of touched on a couple of the same points.
Yeah.
Lisa, what'd you think of this one? Filler?
So this sounds like another band to me, and I couldn't place who it was exactly, but I didn't feel like the previous 3 songs or what I expect Alice Cooper's band to play. I can't name the band though. So he also says fire in it again within the lyrics, which I'm like, oh, that's again, yay. It's more like 80s sleaze or even structured blues than some of the other songs. Not super great for me. Not as catchy. Definitely a weak chorus. So I'm going to go into something I'm going to say about the lyrics, and I kind of feel like this on the whole album, but it really stands out here. Everything seems to have to rhyme on this album, and I'm going to say it again in a couple of future songs.
Me too.
Yeah, there's so much rhyming, and some of the rhyming gets a little weak. Let's just say that. So you just shared some lyrics that like rhyme that were a little ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
You promised me the moon and the stars and the sun, but you never did nothing for anyone. Like every 2 lines rhyme, and it started to grate on me after a while because I'd like it to be a little more complex and artistic. But to be fair, this song had good lyrics. I just not everything needs to rhyme.
Yeah.
There's a little bridge that I liked before the guitar solo. A sleazy guitar solo reminds me a little bit of Ellie Guns. I think you guys are going to say it doesn't, but mostly this was not a super great song. It's not my favorite. So
Yeah, the rhyme really bothers me when it's too close together, right?
yeah, one after another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a song coming up, like you said, that's like it's guilty.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes he's overreaching for the rhymes too. He's like
Mhm.
forcing words to rhyme that really
Mhm.
shouldn't, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is. Maybe it's not Alice. Maybe it's a Desmond Child thing. Because if you look at some of the other Desmond Child songs, Bon Jovi and Aerosmith, they also have the rhyming problem. So
Possible.
Yes.
yeah,
You also have to keep in mind though that he's trying to compete in the 1988
yeah,
arena, and that was huge during this
Yeah.
time. What easier way to make people remember your chorus than to fucking make it a little rhyme, right?
Yeah.
Now it's ugh.
The man likes his rhymes. What do you want?
All right, track number 5. Only My Heart Talkin'. So this is a stereotypical power ballad from the day, right? Nonstop to Nowhere, Something to Believe in, take your pick. But I will say the difference between songs like that and this is this chorus. It has a nice classic sound to it. And I'm sure this is partly because we've got Steven Tyler singing on it, right? But it did get away from that. Give me something to believe in, or it just sounds better. It sounds more, I don't know the word I'm looking for, has more integrity, right? Than some of those.
Maybe.
I do wish that I could hear this song with just Steven Tyler singing though. And maybe it would just be like an Aerosmith song or off Steven Tyler's solo album. That might be better. But overall, it's a quality song. I got a little chuckle at the end when, they did their little battle off and Alice just did the same thing like 7 times in a row and Steven Tyler went fucking off. But yeah, it was good. Not a great power ballad, not something I want to return to, but fine. When you think about who's doing it, it's fucking Alice Cooper. So there you go. Dave.
Here's the power ballad. Guest vocals, of course, from the great Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. From ultimateclassicrock.com, Alice Cooper said, I think Steven Tyler has the best voice in rock and roll.
I agree.
During our heyday in the 70s, we were always too drunk to work together.
Nice.
I finally called Steven and he loved the song. So we went to Boston, sat in the studio, as we said, for about 8 hours and had fun. That's one vocal I would not want to have to do again. It was actually Blue Jay Studios in Boston.
Nice.
This was the 4th single from the album. So much going on in the production, maybe too much. This sounds like, to me, a version of those Aerosmith ballads that they would put out over and over in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a terrible song, but kind of Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Guitar solo was kind of lame for me. The screams at the end were fun. Hearing Alice, trying out sort of the Steven Tyler scream and dueling back and forth, but wasn't really needed. They may have, been able to tighten that up a little bit and just give us a little flash of it and then be gone. But that went a little long.
This album did not need 2 power ballads. I'll tell you that right now. They could have combined them both into one good song and just been done with it. Lisa, what'd you think of this one?
So I obviously immediately recognized this as the necessary power ballad, that they had to have on the album. The synth feels a little bit like Bon Jovi synth to me, which is a good thing in my head. It was funny to me though, like the Lord of shock rock and concept albums, and he's singing this gentle ballad, and it just doesn't sit right with me. I do like the repeated only in the chorus. I don't know why that caught my mind, but I like that. He says baby way too many times in this.
A lot of babies.
Baby, yeah. It's kind of the 80s trope of trying to win the girl back.
Yeah.
The right topic for a power ballad. The guitar solo had some sour notes in it. That was my note on that. I think you guys said it
Did.
wasn't that great. I was like, ooh, that doesn't fit. But even like I said, the vocals at this point in the song, something isn't sitting right with me. And then Steven Tyler comes in, and everything opens up, and I'm like, there it is. Yep. You know, he's a perfect fit for this song, and I have the same note as you, Dev. If it was just Steven Tyler singing on this song, I probably would love it to pieces.
Mhm.
He's just so good at it. I love the duet, the pass off at the end. This song has a video. It looks suspiciously like a Bon Jovi video with some black and white footage and some silhouettes of the band playing, screaming guitars, Alice singing, sitting on a chair, a pretty girl. Visually, it's different from the other three videos on this album, which was a relief to me because I thought they were starting to look too similar, like same filters, same kind of performance shots. This one had a different feel to it, but there was no Steven Tyler in the video, and I was
Interesting.
disappointed with that. So
He was probably busy.
he was busy, yeah, but I think the video would have been like a super hit had Tyler showed up.
I didn't think these two sounded particularly good together. And the funny thing is like, so on this one, Steven Tyler is really the supporting singer. Like he was fine taking a back seat to Alice, and just, they have him so low in the mix. It's like almost you're straining to hear Steven Tyler. We're going to get to the song with Bon Jovi, and it's a Bon Jovi song. Like this could be off a Bon Jovi album. Doesn't sound like Alice Cooper. I can barely hear Alice Cooper. Like Jovi was like, "Oh, come on and do a tune on your album." So, and I thought that they sang way better together, but maybe it's just because Alice is buried behind Bon Jovi. I don't know. Okay, so that ends the first side of the album. We are going to do a Fast Five, and I'm going to do this next week with Kiss, but I wanted to give it like a test drive tonight. I think it would be better with Kiss because Kiss has these album covers that just everybody knows, so it'll be a little bit more fun, but I gave these guys the answers to the test up front so that they could look at these albums if they were not familiar with them and make their own choices. So here we go. Alice Cooper album Showdown. Number 1, you've got the 1978 From the Inside or 1976 Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. Dave, which album cover is better?
Well, they're both full face Alice. From the Inside folds out his face, but on Goes to Hell, he is green. So we're going with that one.
And Lisa, which one?
Disagree. My From the Inside, for me, it's a gothy look with the corpse makeup and all of that. The green face looks awful. It doesn't even look like him. My first view was like, who is that on the cover? And then I was like, oh, it's him. Nope, that was a thumbs down for me. Yeah.
So the correct answer is From the Inside. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yes.
Because if you look at it closely, the band is in his eyes in a fish lens. And that is the only reason I chose it. Because when I first did this one, I was like, oh, it's Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. He's green. It's fucking amazing. No makeup. Right? But then I noticed the little fucking band in the fish. And I was like, no, that's it. That's the one. So that's my reason. And that is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Missed that detail.
And I'll have to explain to our special guest that all of your answers are opinions and mine is the correct answer. Okay, number 2. We've got the 1986 Constrictor or 1987 Raise Your Fist and Yell. Dave, which one's better?
Well, if you haven't seen it, Raise Your Fist and Yell has this weird drawing of Alice Cooper's face on a fist, which looks like it was drawn by High School Burnout. And if it was real, it would make Alone Time with the Playboy Channel pretty weird.
Oh, shit.
It looks like a bad AI rendition of a hand is what it is.
So, yeah, we're going with Constrictor for sure.
Fun fact, I have a tattoo of my own face on my right hand, and I enjoy it. Okay, Lisa, what do you got?
Definitely Constrictor. How a snake, fantastic. Both of these are horror movie related albums too,
yes.
but Constrictor is so much better.
Constrictor's fucking awesome. Correct answer is Constrictor. You got a boa
Yeah.
constrictor. Choke it out, fucking Alice
Right?
Cooper.
It's
There it
beautiful.
is. There it is. Number 3, 1991, Hey Stupid, or 1977, Lace and Whiskey. Dave, which one's better?
Both are good,
Yeah.
but Lace and Whiskey has that classic feel, the detective film noir feel. Hey Stupid is pretty wild and garish looking, even though it fit the times. I'm going with Lace and Whiskey.
Lace and Whiskey kind of reminded me of your Demon's Alley cover that you had.
Where do you think I got the idea from?
Okay. I thought I saw it. Lisa, talk about it. Which one?
I'm much more interested in garish artwork. I don't like the Lace and Whiskey cover. I think it fades into the background. The black and white does nothing for me. It isn't a cool black and white. It's just like someone took a picture of a bunch of stuff on a table, and I don't like it at all.
Okay.
That's how I
Unfortunately,
made my album cover.
Yeah,
unfortunately, you are wrong. The correct
I
answer
know.
is
I knew you
Lace
guys were
and
going to agree with
Whiskey.
each other. Yeah.
Lace and Whiskey's great, and so was
No.
the Demon's album, the Demon's Alley album cover. So nice job, Dave. I always like that album cover. Okay,
Thank you.
number 4, 2008, Along Came a Spider, or the 1975, Welcome to My Nightmare. Dave, which one is better? We're not talking about the album. We're talking about the album cover.
Well, just the cover. Welcome to My Nightmare is for sure. You can't beat Drew Struzan artwork. Great drawing of Alice plus the cool bug wallpaper.
Lisa, which one do you think is better?
I don't like the Along Came a Spider cover. All I see on it is his nose. I don't know why that is. There's nothing wrong with Alice Cooper's nose.
Why did he give himself a big fake nose? for
Right,
the
like
album
it's
cover?
it's just a bad, like I don't like that view. It doesn't do anything for me. It definitely Welcome to My Nightmare.
You know who's got a giant nose? Me. So I'm going to go ahead and say you've both got this one wrong. Along Came a Spider is the
Ah,
is the correct answer. You're both wrong. Okay. Number 5, 2005, Dirty Diamonds, or Eyes of Alice Cooper. Very similar album covers. Dave, which one is better?
It's almost the same picture.
It is.
It's really weird that they'd use such a similar shot with the same perspective for two albums that came out back to back. I think it
Yes.
was 2003 and 2005. Weird. But I pick up Eyes of Alice Cooper because it's cooler.
And Lisa, which one's better?
so Eyes of Alice Cooper, there were actually 4 covers, pretty much the same, but 4 different colors of the
Mm.
cover. I don't like that. And it looked a little 70s kind of yuck to me. So I'm going with Dirty Diamonds.
Correct answer is 2005, Dirty Diamonds. And I'll tell you why I
That's
love it
right.
so much, because I love black, red, and white together. They just look
Yes.
good. So
Mhm.
that's a badass cover. All
It's
of
very
it.
goth of you, Des.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
And his eyes are diamonds.
Yes, and the title, Dirty Diamonds, is just awesome. So there you go. Great. So Fast 5. There you go. Next week, we'll be bringing some opinions, and I'll be bringing some correct answers. So let's start side B of this bad boy, Bed of Nails. Get a little Ozzy Osbourne intro riff. I like it. Now, I love this song, but the verses here are basic with all the back-to-back rhymes. Not my favorite writing style, and it's on full display. So remedial. This is bad. I don't like it. But overall, the song is well arranged. Got a catchy chorus and more beautiful backing vocals. So, I mean, as much as I hate the rhymes, it's not a terrible song. Dave, what do you think?
Single number 2 from the album. Kane Roberts returns to play some guest guitar. He was formerly in the band for, I believe, the previous 1 or 2 albums. Guitar tone is kind of questionable. It sounded like Type O to me at the beginning, just because of the slow drum beat. Sounds pretty spooky. And then they worked in a slow version of the Poison riff at the beginning. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
But once the real song kicks in, it's pretty not great. Very surprising considering the songwriting star power involved here. In addition to Alice and Desmond Child, also credited with writing the song is Diane Warren, who is a superstar songwriter known for If I Could Turn Back Time by Cher. If I could turn back time.
She couldn't.
Great
And,
song.
Great
and
song.
also I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, which,
Not
you
as
know,
great, but
maybe not the greatest Aerosmith
Mm.
song, definitely not, but it's a pretty good song
it's a
It
hit,
is.
though.
I like
among other huge hits. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Lyrics include "I'll drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails. Ow, 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 ow." What the
Shit.
fuck?
No, get a mattress.
A couple of the world's biggest, most successful songwriters, and this is what they came up with.
Oh God. Sweet Emotion.
Yeesh.
Best Aerosmith song. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's so
It's
hard.
up there.
Nope, Angel.
Angel. Wait, Angel.
Angel.
You're-
Rats in
You're-
the Cellar,
you
Licking a
talk-
Promise.
Wait,
I
Angel.
love that song. I don't
Okay.
care what you say. I love that song. I don't care.
Are you
You
talking
know what?
about
I
the
love
one
Sweet
with?
Emotion
good
too,
song.
but
That's-
I love
that's
that
Are you
song.
talking about the one
Child,
with
I think.
Christina Applegate and "You're My Angel"? You're my angel.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. I don't think I would put it in the same breath with Sweet Emotion, but I don't think there's an Aerosmith song I hate. I love all Aerosmith. It's just a fucking amazing band. Lisa, talk about the album we're actually doing though.
Okay, so I don't know that I'm right about this, but there's a riff behind, kind of almost hidden, that is the riff from Poison from the first song. Did you hear that
Like right at the top.
at the very beginning?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I
Yes.
just said.
Oh, okay.
The, at right before they did the slow
Yeah, yeah.
part.
Okay,
yeah,
you did
the
say that.
slow
All right, yeah.
version. Of,
I thought
yeah,
I had to listen to it a couple times. I wasn't sure if I was hearing. I was like, why would they do that?
No, it's like
it's
it's
so
like a
good.
theme.
Because it's so
Yeah.
good. It had to be in
Because it's
three.
a concept album again.
It had to be in
right?
3 songs. Like that
Yeah.
guy's like, dude, this is the best riff I
It's
ever
best-
wrote.
Let's do it
I'm
again.
Putting it in every
Okay.
song going forward.
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
I don't think that guy's even credited with songwriting on this one though.
Yeah.
shit.
Of course, I love the creepy vocals and the minor chords and the spooky synth. And it, like you said, it's sort of like a typo negative song. I love the spooky song, and I'm all excited for it. And then it changes and it becomes a little more standard 80s rock. And I'm looking for the spooky song again. It keeps going back and forth, right? Spooky song, regular 80s song, spooky song, and I want it to stay the spooky song.
Spooky.
Yeah, the lyrics can be a little weak in places. Yeah, first we're gonna kiss, then we're gonna say dirty little words only lovers say. Oh gosh, yeah, and my note is the same as yours. I could do without the ow 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 ow.
Oh, God.
Like,
Fuck.
that's pretty
It's not
awful.
Brutal.
Yeah,
it's
just
a
brutal.
fine line between clever and stupid.
Yeah, the song basically, the word I would use for this is confusing. I'm lost as to what they meant it to be. There is a video for this song, which looks almost identical to the Poison video. A girl wearing, a corset and lingerie is writhing on a bed of nails behind the band playing. It's the same filters from the original. It just looks like the other one. But the coolest thing about this video is Alice's jacket, which is these giant metal nail spikes coming out of it, and I want that jacket so bad.
Nice. Give me a big hug. Ow. Okay.
Well, that's the whole point, right? Is don't
Yeah.
touch me.
Don't touch me.
Stay away.
Okay. Track number 7. So I'm gonna just spoil it. This is my favorite song on the album. I fucking love this song. This maniac is in love with you. I love this song. I feel like he wrote it for me. I feel like he wrote it for Dylan, right?
Oh,
This maniac is
Dylan.
in love with you. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing lyrics. The vocals feel like Alice is right at home delivering them. It's the late 70s again. This is how Alice Cooper writes music. I fucking love it. It's my favorite song on the album. Is it as good as Poison? No, but this is fucking Alice Cooper. Yes. Dave, what do you got?
Well, Guy Man Dude is back with his shitty guitar sound on this one.
So now we know it was him then.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the name. Guy Man doing the shitty guitar song. Right.
The song's not so bad, but I think I don't like the production with all the keyboards and making Bobby Chenard's huge drumming sound like an 80s drum machine.
Right.
A more classic treatment may have made this song way better. The song is 3 minutes 48 seconds. I could have done with a little bit less long of a song.
Dave,
Just
I
so good.
think I agree with you. I think if this had been recorded in 1979, it would have been fucking killer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like
That's what I'm talking about.
I would like to hear it more Rocky Horror and less fucking 80s metal, but it's still, I can hear right through that production and that weird sound. I like the song a lot. Lisa, what did you think of the song?
You and I have a little bit of the same feeling on this. This is Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
This is a unique song, and I feel like it was intended to be a concept album song, rock opera
Mm.
about what the song is about, which is a guy in a mental hospital who's in love with a girl. And he's wearing a straitjacket through the whole opera. Right?
Yep.
I would love that. It's very 70s, which usually is not my style, but I think it works for this song. But I don't think it fits on this album. Um, the title is weird for the album. It's definitely a rock opera type title. The premise of the lyrics, the chorus, it's much more musical than it is rock. The guitar solo feels like it doesn't fit, and they just like shoved it in there. Like somebody was like, "Yeah, I played this. Do you want to use it?" And they were like, "Yeah, we'll just throw it into this song." And that's what it feels like for me. It's out of place, but I like it. It's just in the wrong spot.
Yeah. I feel like it reminds me of the song where we meet Frank for the first time in Rocky
Yes,
Horror. Like
exactly.
that's what it made me think of. And
Yeah,
I was
it's
like, I like
introducing a
that.
character. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I
Yes.
like that a lot.
Yep.
That's what. So, like you guys said, not in love with the version of the song or the production of the song, but I can hear the great song there. A lot of fun for me, and that's the charm of the entire album. It's fun. I had fun listening to it, and it was actually a fairly quick listen too.
Yeah.
Track number 8, Trash. This feels, like I said, this feels like a Bon Jovi song. Okay, not a huge Bon Jovi fan. Respect the man, tons of respect. Super talented songwriter, great everything, but squeaky clean. Bon Jovi. I don't want my fucking Alice Cooper wrapped in Bon Jovi. It doesn't feel good to me. It feels wrong. Drums and bass, really good on this one. Is not a hit song, but it's got celebrity fire all over it. It is a red hot track. Dave, what do you think?
Here we go. This might be the most underrated song on the album.
Yes.
Tom Hamilton and Joey Kramer from Aerosmith are guesting on this song on bass and drums. Killer groove. They did so good. Yeah, great guitar work from a couple guys I'd never heard of, Mark Frazier and Jack Johnson. I didn't have a chance to dig into who these guys were. I did a quick look and couldn't find anything, but I'm guessing they're just studio guys, but good tone, good guitar parts panned left and right, and they're complementing each other. I felt like the whole album should have sounded like this because I really liked the sound and the production of this one. Guest vocals from local New Jersey guy John Bon Jovi. He sounds pretty good, and maybe someday he'll get somewhere in showbiz.
Dude, Bon Jovi is a player though. He's a guy that doesn't leave anything to chance. And when he rolled in there, he's like, my song is going to be the one that sounds the best. I wouldn't be surprised if Bon Jovi was like, listen, let's put a little extra cash in this. I know these two guys, Jack Johnson, we're going to make this thing sound good. Okay. Because like you said, it is a phenomenal production. And I always say this as a songwriter and recording, everything starts with the drums. Everything starts with the drums. If you're building a house on shitty drums, it's just going to slip into the ocean. This is built on a fucking granite foundation. It's amazing. Then you add fucking the bass and it's just blah. Lisa, did you love it?
Freight train.
Title track of the album starts out bluesy. Vocals are great. They're screechy and gritty. I definitely hear this as a Bon Jovi song. I also hear it as a Faster Pussycat song. Not just because he says cat house, but from the cadence of how he delivers the lyrics is very Tammy like in this song. I love this one. I think any of my favorite bands could have also played this song and it would have been great. And, Bon Jovi wasn't one of my favorites, but they could have done it also. There's a blues breakdown, a screech guitar solo. But I don't think you could write a song like this today. It's misogynistic to call a woman trash. It was funny and quirky back in the day and interesting. You couldn't do that today. It also has some creepy lyrics. Your daddy's dream, you're a peach in cream, and you're ripe at last. Ew. Just ew.
Making me hungry.
Yeah. So I
Peach
don't think
cobbler.
I don't think this would work today, but I liked it back in the day. So
Nice. Track number 9, Hell is Living Without You. I said this a couple of times already. I love the spots on this album where the song leans on Alice Cooper being himself. And the first verse of this is that. It's built on his vocal, and they're not trying to make him something he's not here. They just said, Alice, just sing, do some Alice Cooper. And I loved it. I thought it was really nice, and it brought me back to what I love about Alice Cooper. And that's what kept this album going for me. I love all the melodies he gives on this song. Vocally, I love the chorus. I mean, Alice Cooper isn't known for his power ballads, and I think this album gave us 2 okay ones, right? I mean, it's what do you expect? What do you expect? You went out for Chinese food. They had a pizza on the menu. You had to try it. It came out. You're like, it's a pretty good pizza. I mean, you're not known for your pizza, but not bad. I don't know. Dave, what'd you think of this slice?
Well, from my hometown of Woodbridge, New Jersey,
Known for their
Mr.
pizza.
Goddamn right, the best pizza in the world.
Best pizza in the world.
Mr. Richie Sambora on guest guitar. Also,
Nice.
some guy named Steve Lukather on guitar too.
Nice.
Yeah,
Lucas.
He played it. He played in Toto. You know, he's pretty well known, but I can't tell who's playing what. But in addition to Alice and Desmond Child, this one was also written by John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora.
Interesting.
I'm assuming it's Richie playing the solo. It's okay, but I know he can do better. I'm not really digging the tone. But it was interesting how the chorus lyrics sort of answer the lines coming before them. I thought that was kind of a neat, songwriting nerd thing. A lot of synth on this one. The song is all right.
I think Richie Sambora really started showing us the player and the songwriter and the singer he was when he broke free from Bon Jovi. I don't think he was ever really allowed to spread his wings fully under the Bon Jovi umbrella. Just my opinion.
Under the regime.
Under the regime of one John Bon Jovi. Lisa, what did you think of the tune?
I liked the synth opening. I liked that there was synth kind of throughout the whole thing. They did it really well on this song. I think it worked. The vocals are interesting in the beginning. I feel like he's trying to imitate someone else in the very beginning, and I can't pick out who. It's not his real voice. But then the song drops in, like the song kind of really starts, and then his voice is back to what I remember as Alice Cooper's voice. It's it's another ballad. I like some of the lyrics. I like the title of this song, but there's some really bad rhyming lyrics in here. I can't find your face in 1,000 masqueraders. You're hidden in the colors of a million other lost charaders. What is that? That is brutal. Charaders. Like, what in the what rhymes with masqueraders, dude? How about charaders?
Charaders? Is that even a
LA
word?
Raiders.
Oh,
The LA
God.
Raiders, Dave. The LA Raiders. That's perfect.
Paraders.
Paraders.
Just terrible.
Cheese graters.
Yeah. Then there's like a gang vocal behind the chorus singing like I hate that. The guitar solo is very different than the rest of the album, of course, because it's Richie. It's very clean. And I actually liked it. You said it was okay. I actually really liked it. As soon as the guitar
Crazy about it.
Yeah. As soon as the guitar solo was over, I completely lost interest in the song. And I didn't really start listening again until the kind of extra guitar solo that came in at the very end. So,
Dude, it's so funny. You're like, so the first verse, this is not Alice Cooper. This is not, and then I'm like, so the first verse, we really got the true Alice Cooper.
right?
We
Yeah,
could not have
like,
heard that
who
any
is that?
differently.
Yeah.
We could not have heard that any differently. Okay. Great. Last track on the album. I'm Your Gun. Oh boy. I'm already put off by the title, but here we go. So my only complaint is I wish they had dressed this one down. Okay. And same with that this Maniac's in Love with You. Another perfect song. Should have dressed it down. Let Alice handle almost all of the vocals on this. Like, you didn't have to make the entire album butter. And I appreciate what they were doing. They were giving us a slick hair metal album in 1988, whatever. I get it. But I wanted this one more dressed down. I heard this one really like School's Out. Like, I feel like this could have been produced like a updated version of School's Out, but not this updated of a version. Song rips, smoking ending to the album. The lead guitar on this one is also very good. I thought it was a good ending, proper ending to the album. Dave, what'd you think?
Great a cappella opening, cool vocal layering in the spoken parts of the song. Verses are full of double entendres that are kind of cheesy, but I've written worse songs. Chorus
Sure.
is pretty good. I kind of feel like that opening part may have made a better chorus, but maybe while writing it, they couldn't figure out a way to incorporate it that worked. But it is a great intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, guest vocals from the 80s favorite connoisseur of teen girls, Kip Winger. You can't really noticeably hear him except towards the end. I'm assuming it's him doing the higher scream parts. I like the guitar parts. The solo was pretty good. I wrote in my notes that I was willing to bet that you were going to hate the whammy bar and tapping parts, but you didn't pick up on that, so that's all right.
Fine. It was fine. I heard it.
It was interesting. I liked it. So no deep social commentary here. Good high energy ending to the record.
Yeah. No, I agree. A little tapping's fine. Lisa, what'd you think of this for a outro song on the album?
Why do I love the cheesy vocal opening so much? It's so good. Oh my
It's
god.
the best part of the whole song.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It comes in, it feels to me like kind of a classic blues rock song. The lyrics are not great. A lot of puns, a lot of silly rhymes. Pull my trigger, I get bigger. Then I'm lots of fun. Silly men like to, talk about their packages a lot, I think. And throughout this whole song, it's just different ways of talking about that over and over again.
That's what they're talking about?
Yeah. And in some ways it's fun that they can say that in so many different ways. I do like the cadence in the way that the lyrics are delivered, because there's a lot of like short, few word lyrics, like a lot of lines in this song, and it's a good cadence, kind of shoots out at you like a gun. Yeah.
So to speak.
So to speak.
But
we're singing about little girls again, which fits the fact that Kip Winger isn't one of the vocalists on this song. Lots of sexual innuendo, puns. He also talks about dressing as a nun as part of the rhymes in there, which obviously I approve of. Nun rhymes with a lot of different words. That's probably why they chose to use it. Yep.
Fun.
Yeah. Spun.
The ending of this song is a stick ending, right? It just ends with like a bang, which I think is just the perfect way to end the album. It's a fun song. So
yeah, no fade out here, which was wonderful.
No fade out, which was great.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. We've broken down Trash for you. I hope that you enjoyed our opinions on this album and my facts. What? You guys are looking like you see an alien.
No, it's good.
Okay. So let's do some favorite songs. We'll chop some songs. We'll bring some people in. We'll kick some people out. Here we go. My favorite song on this album. I'm going to change my pick to Poison because it's better than This Maniac is in Love with You, but I really like that. Okay. Song I would cut. Why Trust You? It's all right. Dave, what do you got?
Favorite track. It's close between Poison and Trash. I'm going with the title track, Trash.
Okay.
I would actually cut This Maniac's in Love with You.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Sorry.
That's a problem. Lisa, what do you got?
So my favorite would be Poison, followed very, very closely by House of Fire.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And I'm also going to cut this Maniacs in Love with You, but not because I don't like it, because I want this to be the title track of the rock opera and spawn an entire album of its own.
I like it. Like Welcome to Your Nightmare, his updated
Yes.
version of Welcome to Your
Right.
Nightmare. I like it. Okay.
Yes.
Let's do some band members here. I would remove Hugh McDonald on bass, and I would replace him with Tom Hamilton because he sounded amazing on his tracks. And why not just throw Joey Kramer in there too, right? So that's my move. Dave, what are you doing?
Nice. I'm replacing one of the guest artists. Guy Man Dude is out. His tone was bad, and he didn't play anything especially impressive. I don't get why he was there in the first place. Let's sub in another guitar player who was pretty big in 1989, Slash.
There you go. I like it.
This actually happened on Alice's next album, Hey Stupid. Slash came in and played some stuff, but yeah, we're going to put him in there early.
Awesome. Lisa.
I'm replacing John Macari completely with Steve Vai. Steve Vai was actually Alice's first choice to play on the album, but he was busy already at this time, and that was an easy pick for me. So
Steve Vai, interesting. So an interesting player, could kind of do it all, right?
Well, and Alice has played with everyone, right? Everyone has played behind him. So how do you choose someone? So
yeah, I think Steve played a little bit on Hey Stupid too.
I mean, Alice is such an icon. He needs icons playing behind him. Sure. Slash is an icon. Steve Vai is an icon. I'm in.
Okay, I like it. All right, let's do some final thoughts, and then we will score this thing and log it forever. My final thought: I honestly forgot how much fun this album was. It's not even close to Alice Cooper's best album. I mean, I think this is what we say his 10th album. So
11th, I think.
11th.
Yeah.
So it's probably his 11th best album. It's a fun 80s spin on a classic Alice Cooper album. So for me, it's pushing the same as his score as a frontman, 81.666 watts. It's a fucking solid album, man. I mean, there's no like huge potholes in it. It's fine. Dave, what do you got?
Okay, well, we didn't talk about when we went to a concert on Halloween related to Alice Cooper a little bit. We went to go see King Diamond on Halloween night.
I like it.
In Boston. He also had Overkill opening for him and a band called Night Demon. That was pretty good too. Yeah, it was a great show. I love King Diamond.
Yeah,
we had a great time.
An interesting crossover with that too is so he played with a woman named Mirker. She is a solo black metal artist whose songs, she's been out for a while. Her songs were mostly done in Norwegian and Swedish Norwegian language is Swedish language. It's kind of neat. She hides behind this name Mirker, and she kind of hid who she really was. Her real name has come out. I think it's Emil. I can't remember her last name. But she did vocals and played organ, keyboard, synth behind King Diamond for this tour. And what I found was interesting was it was kind of like how Alice did it. She brought his voice back up. Maybe he doesn't have the voice that he used to have. And for all the high notes and the high things he had to hit, she was singing behind him.
She was helping him out on the high notes.
And brought the voice. And it was a beautiful mix. And of course she did the organs, which was really great.
Doubling.
Yeah, cool. But definitely check out her solo stuff. It's if you like black metal, it's really great.
Cool. LA got Overkill, you said, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw Overkill with LA Guns at a small club a million years ago. This was like back on their first go around here in the area. I met this very exotic young lady at that show. Spent many interesting evenings with her. Yes.
The last time I saw Overkill before this Halloween show was a really long time ago. I want to say it was in the late 90s, but it was the last concert I ever saw with my brother before he passed. And it was one of his favorite bands. So it was really neat to see them on Halloween.
What a wonderful memory.
Yeah, it was really good.
Nice. Okay, Lisa, tell us what you got, and let's do this thing.
Well, I still gotta
Oh,
talk
you didn't
about the
score it?
record.
Yeah.
You didn't score it?
No,
You-
not yet.
What
Yeah, no.
happened? Oh shit!
We just went right into King Diamond.
Good God, we went down a rabbit hole. Dude,
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
have noticed I lose my mind at the end of every show, right? Dave, go ahead.
So here's a quote from the album's press release. Unleashing his 20th release, which I'm assuming they're counting his Alice Cooper Band albums too. Trash is just as controversial as previous Alice albums. It oozes with sexuality and songs about relationships in the 90s with the twisted attitude only Alice Cooper can project. It's not always pretty, it's not always nasty, but it's always unmistakably Alice. That's pretty cheesy. I don't know who wrote that, but geez. Everybody, and this is a quote from Alice, everybody relates to trash. Kids get trashed by the cops, trashed in school, trashed at home. We live in a highly pressured time. Drugs are a much bigger deal today. The fear of addiction is right there. Living is harder. Sex is harder. It used to be that when you got into trouble from sex, you got a shot of penicillin. Now you die. It's a dangerous world, and trash is what it's all about.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
So,
heavy.
and nobody else talked about this, but I heard something. I didn't see too much about it, but apparently they delivered copies of the album to record stores in garbage trucks.
Awesome.
Yeah, like Alice
Interesting.
Cooper was like riding on a garbage truck, bringing copies of his album to the record store.
Was he
So
with Donald Trump?
Should have been.
So yeah, I don't know, publicity stunt or whatever, but this album isn't perfect. You could argue it's just a cheap effort to get on the 80s hair metal bandwagon with the choice of producer and guest musicians, but I like it way better than his previous two albums, Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell. The production is a little uneven. What's interesting is the album is more sex oriented than the standard Alice album. No monsters, no sanitariums. Some of it's great. Most of it's okay. Yes, we're trend chasing a little bit, but Alice Cooper is like pizza. Even when it's not great, it's still not too bad. The album is still fun. My score for trash is 69.9.
Of course it
I think
is.
I might have gone a little high. I should not be giving my score first. Okay, now, Lisa, talk about
Okay.
the album and score it.
So I hadn't listened to this in 20 years. I probably won't listen to this back to, all the way through back to back again. But it was a lot of fun. I'm probably going to listen to the hits again. It's interesting how many great musicians were featured on this album. Great. I thought the production was pretty great. You just said you didn't like it, but I thought it was pretty great.
Some of it's good. It's uneven.
Yeah, I think it came at the right time to bring his career back, and I think he brought it back in the right way. Like I think this worked. It wasn't an act, even though kind of everything for him is theatrical, but it didn't feel like an act. It felt like a natural progression.
It's not fake.
It's not fake.
Genuine.
It was a natural progression of his art, basically. But the thing I really came out with has nothing to do with Alice Cooper, but it was reminding me of the band Sixth Chamber, which now St. John is playing in, the acid goth rock band, which kind of blends classical and goth music and just weird spooky stuff. Back in the day, Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan appeared in their videos, so of course I'm all about that. I'm definitely going to listen to them more for sure. You can't question the legacy of Alice Cooper. This brought him to the forefront again, kind of almost, I don't want to call it for a new generation, but certainly for, people who weren't around for his 70s performances.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, like, his old stuff was old man music when we were kids.
Right.
And this was much more relatable to us.
Yeah.
Having like the man behind the mask and, Poison and Trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, he's always going to be the king of theatrical metal, whether it's music, he's his humor, he's kind of has a piece of our culture. He's an icon, and I was happy to dust this one off again. My final score is 80.1.
Nice. So we heard it the same. I don't feel so bad now that she said 80.1. Okay, good. Will you guys please calculate that score and tell us where it lands on the list?
All right. We are calculating.
Sure. So
Beep boop 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 boop.
we need some calculation music.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll have to get on composing some.
Yeah.
Compose that.
So on the Violent Vinyl album chart, Alice Cooper's Trash is now number 6 with a total score of 77.22. That puts it just above Whitesnake's 1987 and just below Typo Negative's Bloody Kisses. Just barely.
Interesting. I love it when you mix a bunch of genres. We're not supposed to do that. It was like we're breaking the rules, but whatever. There it is. It's where it is.
Yeah.
They're all
We're
good.
outlaws.
Yeah.
We're
Rebels.
outlaws. Awesome. Okay, guys. So that's it. We've done it. We will be back in 2 weeks. We will have a special guest podcaster, filmmaker, co-host of the podcast Reviewing History, and friend of the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast, one Mr. Brian Rupert. We will be reviewing Revenge by Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, we'll be doing that. And we will be back in a week, same week, with our sister podcast, Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? Where we will be breaking down A Clockwork Orange with the King of Terror, Tony. So there you go. Be looking for that.
One of my favorites. One
Yes,
of my all-time favorites. Yeah.
Wonderful movie. I can't wait to watch it again and actually review it. So there you go. Until next time, take those albums out of the sleeve and let the music breathe. See you later.